Cause he tried to emotionally manipulate.
Shh, hold that thought. As I expected, there's a lot of fishy things going on in this place.
And you.
Fishy? Uh-oh, what have you found?
All in good time. Before we go over our new leads, I want to tell you how a high-altitude escape is performed. First, the magician slots this. The box is then suspended high in the air, and a short while later, the base automatically opens. At this point, a dummy will fall out of the box, but it looks real enough to grab the audience's attention, and they start wailing and screaming. Meanwhile, the real magician, who has by now blended into the crowd, waits for a good moment to make their appearance and put on a hysterical performance. Oh no! Is that me? Did I just fall to my death?
Very vivid description. Paimon can really picture it. And then what?
The audience's gaze then turns to the magician, and by the time they realize what's happened, the dummy has vanished, as if everything that just happened was some sort of shared illusion. Of course, that's just how I think the process should work, theoretically speaking.
And what do you mean, theoretically?
The inventor of this trick never performed it successfully. When the box opened, Caesar was the one who fell out, and not the dummy. He fell right to the ground from the highest point of the opera house. No one could hope to survive that fall. Not without a vision, at least.
Oh, I'm about to say, I thought the words said, even with a vision, you wouldn't have survived that high. I was about to say, hold up. But never mind, continue.
And no one else has ever attempted this trick since. My understanding of how it works is just based on what I could gather from his notes and the relevant gadgets here in his workshop.
So Caesar's famous high-altitude escape has never been done, huh? Paimon was about to say how cool it would have been to see it in person, but if it's that dangerous, it's probably for the best that no one else tries to do it.
Nah, it's because you gotta just make sure everything prepped and prepped properly. You gotta constantly keep practicing it over and over and over.
Wait a second. So if a dummy's supposed to drop out of the box, then where does the real magician go? How does he get out?
I feel like she just asked a stupid question, yet at the same time, I got this sense of feeling that her question isn't aimed at him falling out of the box, because she just heard that he died, that he, without shadow of a doubt, died with certainty. So she's mainly asking about the dummy, how he was supposed to. She's asking how was he supposed to get out of the box. Then, if he was supposed to not fall out the box, how was he supposed to, be swapped out with the dummy?
Glad you asked. That brings us to the secret of said box.
It's got a back slot door, don't it?
This box right here is the one that Caesar constructed himself to use in the performance, and it's not as simple as it looks. Inside, there's a device that only the magician himself would know about. Once the magician's inside and the box is lifted up into the air, the audience's view of the box is fixed at a certain angle. From where they're standing, they have a clear view of the front, sides, and bottom, but the back and the top are now no longer visible. At this point, the magician presses a button inside the box, opening a secret door out of view. He then escapes through this trap door onto the opera house roof, waits for the dummy to fall and distract the audience, and quietly returns to ground level.
That's way simpler than Paimon imagined. Even Paimon could probably do it.
Paimon, shut the F up.
Well, there's a little more to it than that, of course. The hardest part of this trick is controlling the audience's mood and reactions. That takes an exceptional degree of showmanship. There's the falling dummy, the miraculous reappearance, the pompous performing. Maybe the magician would even have themselves tied up before it begins to strengthen the impression that there's no escape. Many days and nights of careful research and painstaking practice would have gone into this, all culminating in a performance just a few minutes long. but one that still manages to transform the shock and grief of a tragic accident to the joy and laughter of a mesmerizing magic trick. Caesar was a highly accomplished magician. But unfortunately, even he didn't manage to pull it off.
Because someone clearly sabotaged them. Duh.
So, how did it go so wrong? You said you found some fishy stuff here. Have you figured out what really happened?
I can make a pretty good guess. I looked into the case files. The magic box Caesar was using at the time of his death had the secret button I mentioned positioned on the right-hand side. And sure enough, he always used his right hand as his dominant hand in public.
Okay. Nothing suspicious there.
But here's the strange thing. Most of the devices in this workshop have the mechanism on the left-hand side, including this box right here. Which leads me to believe that Caesar was in fact left-handed.
I'm not sure where you're going with it. Why would Caesar pretend to be right-handed?
Because a magician can't afford to have their most basic habits stand out too much. People naturally focus their attention on the most important details of the task or situation at hand. But a magician needs to be able to redirect an audience's attention at will, so as to avoid arousing their suspicion. The essence of magic is getting people to believe a lie. If even the truth raises eyebrows, the falsehoods become all the more difficult to mask. And so, Caesar trained himself to use his right hand to align with his audience's expectations. Great magic always requires sacrifices.
You know what's so crazy? He's talking so in detail about this dude, Caesar, and he said earlier that great minds think alike as he compared himself to Caesar. And it almost makes it seem like he's talking about himself simultaneously while he's talking about Caesar, about his habits as a magician, and comparing it to himself, essentially.
But in his most stressful and nerve-wracking moments, and when no one was watching, reflex would kick in and he'd use his left hand. That's why he set his gadgets with the mechanism on his left.
Maybe someone exploited that fact against him? Possibly.
Exactly. I think that's likely what happened. Caesar would have been under a lot of time pressure during the escape. He'd have had mere seconds to open the hidden compartment, retrieve the dummy, then open the secret door and make a swift escape. But I'm sure he was confident. He would have rehearsed countless times to the point where it was second nature. He'd barely need to think about what he was doing because muscle memory would guide him through. So he opened the compartment, took out the dummy, checked everything was in order, and then went to leave. With his left hand, he reached for the button, and suddenly, his heart skipped a beat. It wasn't there. Much like when you reach for your keys but find your pocket empty, his mind needed a moment to process what was going on. Instinctively, his left hand would keep feeling around for the missing button, maybe for another second or two, until the bottom of the box gave way. With the stakes being as high as they were, just a 2-second delay cost him everything. The authorities would find nothing suspicious and conclude that his death was due to his own error.
When in reality, someone switched the boxes, and they did it to murder him. But how would they be able to make the switch without being noticed? That would be difficult to pull off, no?
You're right, but if it was his assistant, it's going to be even more easier to do since he relied on his assistant to help him with his magic tricks. It'll be easier for the assistant to easily pull off something like that to get him killed. But I feel like it's just too on the nose to make it Leonard, I forgot how to pronounce that full name. You know what I'm talking about.
It would have to have been someone who knew that he was left-handed and who could move his props around without arousing suspicion. Someone who was always by his side. Isn't that right, Lorenzo?
And here he is.
Just couldn't let sleeping dogs lie, could you? There's not a lot of people who'd go to all this trouble for some magician who died 10 years ago. I didn't want to have to do this, you know. Silencing you the hard way just creates more problems for me to deal with. But I gave you your chance. I hoped you'd do what's good for you and back off like the lady, but you disappoint me.
You mean Gemma? So you are the one who's been threatening her!
Shame on you.
Yes, although however stubborn she might be, she was never much of a liability. But you people, you never even knew him, but for some reason you just wouldn't drop it. Which is why you can't leave this place alive. Take them out, and make it quick.
I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of hate the fact that it was him, his assistant, that killed him. Granted, it didn't confirm whether or not he killed him, Lorenzo killed him or not, but it felt like it's leaning pretty heavy to that.
Do your worst!
That was quick.
Oh, you kids are tougher than you look.
Nah, what you think?
Had enough yet, Lorenzo? Your cronies can't help you now. I think it's high time you started talking. And what I'd really like to know is, why did you murder Caesar?
If I had a Mora for every time you said that man's name. Of course you idolized Caesar, everyone else did. But I was the real genius magician. Me! He was just an amateur who did cheap tricks for gullible children. I was the one who made magic into the fine art it is today. The aristocrats doffed their hats to me!
So it was jealousy.
Jealousy. Hatred, more like. I hated Caesar. All he cared about was his magic. He lived and breathed it.
Then why are you tight about it? You gassing yourself up, oh, I'm the one who made art into the fine art that it is today. Yet you didn't love magic like he did. He clearly loved magic more than you. If anything, it was him who made magic into what it was today, not you, my guy.
He poured everything into his street performances and his stupid tours like it was just a hobby to him, never bothering to think about Mora. What sort of fool devotes their life to the art of deception and never has a Mora to show for it?
Okay, so clearly, my guy, you didn't understand Caesar. That's what this sounds like. You were so wrapped up in your jealousy and your greed for the Mora that you didn't see what this man really was. If anything, he was the real magician between the two of you.
But the people loved him, didn't they? Oh, how they looked up to him. No one gave me a second look. All I ever heard was, "Oh, your master's amazing, isn't he?" Amazing. Yeah, so amazing that he was completely broke. Every other apprentice was living it up at their master's expense, but no, not me. I put in all the work, mastered all the skills, and it brought me nothing more than the life I already had.
So why didn't you just leave?
He forbade me from using magic to trick people out of their Mora. There was nothing he hated more than that.
Then why did you listen to him then? That doesn't make any sense. Like, even though, yeah, you learned the magic under him, you could have easily left and said, F you.
And with his reputation in Fontaine, it was too risky for me to go it alone. As long as he was alive, if I dabbled in my own brand of money-making magic, he would expose me, and it would destroy me.
True.
I had to kill him. There was no other way. He had to go.
Shame on you.
And this was your only motive?
It was reason enough. What other motive would I need?
Well, I was under the impression that there might have been other factors at play. For instance, maybe you were in love with Gemma, but she was engaged to Caesar.
I called it. I effing called it. I called it at the beginning of this damn quest.
In love with Gemma? Don't be ridiculous.
You stuttered, nigga.
Guess I was wrong about that then. Next question. Are you the Phantom Weasel?
I am. Caesar was so strict with me. He insisted that his way was the right way, that the sole purpose of magic was to bring joy to the world. I never bought into any of that. I was more interested in the practical value of magic. Sure enough, it helped me fill my pockets with all kinds of valuable treasures.
But I heard that the Phantom Weasel stole from the rich and poor alike.
Oh, yeah! Charlotte told us that the weasel would steal whatever people valued, no matter how much it was worth.
That's just how it looked from the outside. What would any thief want with second-rate loot? I've only ever targeted high-value items. I stole cheap things as a way of practicing my craft. It was other people's overactive imaginations that conjured up the preposterous image they then dubbed the Phantom Weasel.
So, that's the story, huh? Well, I hope you're ready to tell it all over again during your trial.
What choice do I have? You're a pack of wolves, and you've got me between your jaws. You've seen what's here, and my last-ditch effort to stop it getting out has failed. What else can I do? So be it. I've enjoyed power and wealth for the last 10 years, the likes of which Caesar could never give me. I wouldn't choose for things to end this way, but I regret nothing.
Very well. In that case, I'll contact the guards.
Well, at least you gotta respect the man for this. At least he said he don't regret nothing. You at least gotta respect him for that. He was 10 toes about it.
Traveler, Paimon, keep an eye on Lorenzo for me. I'll meet you just outside the workshop when I'm back.
Could you imagine this mother effer pulling a magic trick of disappearing before he gets back here?
Lyney has told me the whole story.
Bruno.
Lorenzo, do you confess to the murder of Caesar and to framing him for the Phantom Weasel's crimes?
Look who's finally developed a conscience. What kind of disciple murders their own master? I hope it was worth it, because they'll be hell to pay.
Looks like it's all over. What should we do next, Lyney? Should we start preparing for your show?
No, he better tell me the truth, nigga.
Let me think. Let's rendezvous with Lynette and Gemma first. With Lorenzo in custody, Gemma will no longer have to fear for her safety.
Good point. We should go tell Gemma the good news right away. It'll give her some peace of mind for sure.
Ah, you're back. Finished my third dessert.
Your third? Lynette, come on, we've talked about this. Everything in moderation. You're not gonna have any room left for dinner now.
It's fine. I'll shift to exercise mode and jog off the excess sugar.
That's besides the point. Well, it's done now. But try to eat a more balanced diet in the future.
Point taken.
Wait a minute. Now that I think about it, it was the list of wishes from them children. Was she the one wishing for an endless bucket of fried chicken? Lynette, you a fat... Oh my goodness gracious, that is hilarious. It was her.
Did everything go okay?
Of course. Lorenzo was no match for us. The guards are taking him into custody as we speak.
Gosh, that's amazing. I'm sorry. I still didn't know if I could trust you, but now it seems I can. I had my suspicions about Lorenzo, but I...
It's okay. We understand. He did threaten you. Paimon would find it hard to trust strangers in your position, too. But you don't need to be scared anymore. Everything's gonna be okay.
Sorry. Sorry. My emotions are all over the place right now. I've been waiting for this day to come for so long.
I will say this. Fontaine's story quest got a lot of sadness and freaking murder all over it.
I always wanted to report Lorenzo. He took all of Caesar's property, which I found suspicious. But I had people watching me all the time, so I couldn't risk looking into it. I was so afraid. I was scared he'd do something terrible to me. And then no one would be left to visit Caesar's grave. So I never had the courage to speak out. Thank you all. Truly. Thank you so much.
Name Caesar. This dude was a lovely dude.
Thank you all for clearing Caesar's name. I never would have guessed that Lorenzo was the real Phantom Weasel. He never showed any signs that there were problems between him and Caesar in public. From the outside, it looked like they got along great. And to think that lowlife's been living life to the fullest all this time, while Caesar's name was getting dragged through the mud. It's a travesty. At least his soul can finally rest in peace now, thanks to your efforts.
No problem.
If only I'd realized before it was too late.
Don't blame yourself, Gemma. This isn't your fault.
Yeah, you still have the rest of your life to live. Caesar wouldn't want to see you spending it feeling guilty.
True. Also, I need to make this a point. I noticed this back during the time, I think Inazuma was out. I think this was before Sumeru came out. I started to notice there was a lot of chunky female NPCs going around. The one from the church, the sister from the church, and now I'm coming across this is the second one. So it's like, shoot, you might as well give me a female character like this already.
Cheer up, Gemma. My brother's doing a magic show at the Opera House tomorrow evening. Would you like to come along? It might raise your spirits. This show will be a special one. We're holding it in Caesar's honor.
In Caesar's honor? Really? Oh, thank you. I'll be there.
Great. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Traveler, Paimon, don't be late.
Don't worry, we'll be there. No way are we gonna miss out on a free magic show. Wait.
Is that Charlotte?
Paimon's excited to see another of Lyney's magic shows. Wait. Lynette, shouldn't you be on stage by now?
Not this time. My brother's going solo today. So, I'll be watching with you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody's ready because the show is about to begin.
I'm ready.
The great magician Lyney has prepared a spectacular show for us all tonight, concluding with an all-new grand finale that no audience has ever seen before.
I know what the trick gonna be. It's the box
Thank
trick.
you all so much for coming. Now, prepare to join me on a journey through the mystical and miraculous.
Exciting stuff, isn't it?
Yes, it's just... It reminds me of him.
No wonder. Caesar was a famous magician too. So, how did you two first meet, Gemma?
Well, I was out on the street once, and I saw him performing for little children. Children love magic, because they're willing to believe in things that can't be rationally explained. Caesar had this amazing way of bringing them into a dreamlike world. And somehow, I felt drawn to him too. So I went up and asked him to do a trick for me.
Aw, that sounds so romantic. What trick did he do?
Something goofy.
It was with a flower. He took it in his hand, snapped his fingers, and it magically appeared on my head. I was so happy that day. No one had ever given me a flower before that.
That mean he got W Riz. That's what that meant. Simple stuff.
Oh, that's so cute. Actually, now that you mention it, Lyney's done that one before.
Yeah, that mother effer put that damn thing on my sweater.
Is that right? Then I suppose he's a romantic at heart, just like Caesar. So let's treasure the time we have with him.
That sounds deadly.
After all, you never know when the people dearest to you might be gone.
I mean, Lyney, we not dear friends. Let's get something straight here, ma'am. Me and Lyney, we ain't tight like that. So if he do die, I'm not gonna have that much remorse. Cause I found out recently in this story, cause the nigga been lying, but nah. But don't be sad.
That's right. It's all over now. Paimon doesn't really know how to comfort you, but at the very least, no one's gonna be intimidating you from now on. You can breathe easy at last, right?
Right. Yes, you can breathe easy now, Phantom Weasel.
Excuse you? What? I don't think I heard her correctly. What did she just say?
See? Even Lynette says... Wait, what? The Phantom Weasel? Lorenzo escaped? Where is he?
What do you mean, Phantom Weasel?
As Lyney once said, a performer's job is to commit fully to their role and put on a flawless performance for their audience.
Don't tell me she body bagged her own husband. Please don't let that be the case.
But once the bag of tricks is empty and the curtain falls, it's time to end the show. The spotlight is no place for someone with no more cards up their sleeve. It's been 10 years, Gemma. Aren't you tired of the grieving widow act? I think it's time to put an end to it.
What are you talking about? Paimon doesn't like this riddle. Traveler, Paimon doesn't like where this is going. Come on, say something!
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all enjoying the performance so far.
Wait a minute. Is he about to do a disappearing and reappearing act? Is that nigga not really gonna be dead, or am I tripping?
There will now be a brief intermission, after which Lyney will perform the most electrifying act of tonight's show. The one we've all been waiting for. The final performance will take place outside of the Opera House, so please make your way outside in a calm and orderly fashion.
The Phantom Weasel never did like public places, did they? Don't worry, this place will be quiet soon. Let's talk somewhere else for now.
There is Charlotte.